The World Peace Dome at Loni was the venue for the 4th National Conference on Media and Journalism on Peace Dialogue and Inclusivity, organized by MIT World Peace University through the School of Media and Communication. Media to Media Challenges Before Vernacular Legacy Media was the topic of one of the plenary sessions. Besides ex-MP and former journalist Shri Rahulu Anand Bhaskar, the panelists included Shri Yogesh Joshi, Bureau Chief Hindustan Times Pune, Ms. Prachi Kulkarni, Bureau Chief Sam Television Pune, and Shri Samrat Fadnis, Editor Sakal Media Group Pune. The topic for discussion was the changing Mediascape, credibility, revenue, and technology. This session was moderated by Shri Dheeraj Singh, Director, MIT World Peace University's School of Media and Communication.
I would like to start from my own personal experience, and I am going to take the technology end of this debate. Today, the technology is also taking a further leap with the coming of new technology mechanisms. And once again, we are at a very important and critical juncture of the media, where technology is not only defining the job profiles of people working in a media organization, it is also defining, or in a sense, redefining content. It's a very important juncture for, especially for people who have spent long years in understanding and creating content.
Shri Samrat Fadnis, Editor Sakal Media Group Pune, highlighted the importance of credibility in all forms of media.
I often wonder about the word credibility, because that is what we all talk about, and I doubt nobody actually knows what credibility is. I don't know, because I am still finding. I will speak in English and Hindi as well. When I started my job in 1993, newspaper, television and radio, these were the three platforms. And in 1995, first time we experienced with Yahoo. So that was the browser, and we never believed that this is the truth. So जब हम सर्फ करते थे, डायल अप कनेक्शन लगा के कॉल करते थे, and we used to see old photos. So first impression was that okay, this is not real photos. क्योंकि whatever I touch, I feel, I experience through my years of experience, I used to believe that thing. And in 2007, when Twitter and Facebook started in India in 2007-8, the first reaction was, okay, nobody will believe that anything posted on Twitter or Facebook is important. Nobody will believe that I think Lal Krishna Advani was the first politician who started his own blogging, and Amitabh Bachchan later joined as a Big B, his own Big B blog. So the discussion in the media was that okay, nobody will believe that this post is by Advani or Amitabh Bachchan, because it is not published in any newspaper, it is not available in e-paper. No television channel is actually showing that post, and no radio has broadcasted that story. So now in 2020-22, we are talking whether Twitter is more relevant, or Sakal is relevant, or media is relevant, or Times of India is relevant. Who is most credible? So I believe that credibility is a perception that, okay, what I see, I experience is credibility for me. And as a journalist, I face two challenges these times. First is institutionalized credibility, and second is personalized credibility. Anand sir talked about the emergence of YouTube channels and social media, how everybody, now we all learn about Marshall McLuhan's theory, medium is the message, and that is now, we are living in that kind of era when medium is the message. Whether I'm using Instagram, then message is okay, I'm ready to approach or innovate new ideas, I'm ready to approach young culture. If I'm using Facebook, then okay, I'm little bit more inclined towards lengthy articles like newspapers. This is the era when we are living. The first part, institutionalized media with Sakal or Hindu or Times of India or Hindustan Times, like institutions which are physically existed, They have their physical presence for more than few decades, and they have uh, curated teams, special teams to create content. So these kind of institutionalized medias are on one side. Second is I can take name of Bhuvan Bam or anybody who has YouTube channel or has Facebook following or Instagram following of more than 100,000. So they are equally important as Sakal. It took 90 years for Sakal to reach out to 1 million people, and Prajakta Koli can reach out to 3.5 million people through Instagram in a second. So that is her personal media against the, I will would not use the word against, but that is the personal media of Prajakta, and here is the institutionalized media. So I had been trained to pursue the credibility, truth, what is important for my audience, what is important for my society, and I am trained to produce that kind of content against the social media influencer. uh, that content is important, but I I may not have that kind of training to pursue the truth journalism values. So these two kind of media platform will have much challenges in going ahead, not just in 2022, but I believe that it will take more than 8 to 10 years to establish whether the institutionalized media is important or the personalized media. There are no differentiation in between them, because uh, person like Rajdeep Sardesai even tweeted about uh, farmers agitation. That was his personal tweet, but that was taken as an institutional tweet, and it was a mistake, and there were the controversy started after that tweet. So as an institution, I have to use my social media, my personal media very carefully to make sure that my credibility existed in my institutional media must reflect on my social media. And if I'm a personal social media influencer, then I should get more trained to make sure that okay, whatever I am telling you must have a credible sources, credible background, credible truth behind it. Otherwise, the information disseminated through an account having 3.5 million can demolish the institutional established for more than 90 years. So this is what the real situation is, I believe.
Yogesh ji, I'd like to come to you next. Because Hindustan Times for a very long time was a monopoly in Delhi. That is where I began, and we used to very proudly say ki there's a 5 lakh subscription or readership, and we used to go by readership surveys. We used to go by the number of readers there were. But today, that whole concept of readership has evolved into something else. As a person who's a creative content creator, or someone who would like to, who understands the pulse of the readers, how do you think the landscape has changed over the years, in your observation?
So yeah, we've come a long way, you know, from an independence till 1990s, and from 90s to 2022, within 20 years or 25 years, it has been a massive change for media, particularly because of one entity called as internet. You know, internet originally came into being in 1960s at a small office called as Pentagon, and from there to be used it as a for the commercial purpose, it took almost 5 decades. But from 2001 till 2022, within 22 years, internet has altered the game of media quite drastically, and be it Hindustan Times or Sakar or any organization has been impacted by that. So far as HT, the place I work for, is concerned, it has been a very good journey. You know, like Dheeraj ji said, in 80s when we used to have a Khushwant Singh as an editor, our entire readership in Delhi, the place, the market that newspaper dominated, was less than 10 lakh. Now the Hindustan Times readership may be, close to 4 million, but it gives more or equal importance to the follower count that it has on Twitter or Facebook. Why? Because both these platforms or many such platforms such as Instagram and others have been complementary to the legacy product, which is print. If somebody had said 20 years ago that electronic media will kill newspaper, that hasn't happened. Then 10 years ago, a similar argument was made that internet will kill newspapers. That hasn't happened. Well, the newspapers have learned to coexist. They've been making most use of all these platforms. What has happened is for the journalists working, 30 years ago, if the journalist was asked whether he or she should have a knowledge of how the newspaper is printed at the printing press, and if the answer was no, that would have still been fine for him to be qualified as a journalist, because his job was only to write stories or edit stories and that's it. Now, if journalist doesn't understand the characteristics of new media platform, he might become obsolete. So a journalist has to understand the media, the changing landscape of media as much as he needs to know his craft. That's the main difference. That's the unique part of it. And as a result, the content are increasingly getting interlinked with the technology, because platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram operates in an entirely different ecosystem. If there is a developing story and my reporter has to break that story, he will just have to post maybe 150 characters or today 240 characters on Twitter. That's it. But if the same journalist has to write the story in the newspaper, which may be of a 500 words, then he has to construct all the sentences, which also means he has to get additional quotes, which also means he has to get the context, which is very important. So the different platforms are operating in different ecosystem, and the journalist of today needs to understand that. So far as organizations are concerned, the technology has of course impacted them. It has opened them more avenues to earn money, to earn profit, but it has also posed challenges. I'm not sure how many of you heard about this great case of The Wire, which came up with the investigative series about Meta offering privileges to certain individuals. It posted 3 stories, and then later the stories turned out to be based on evidence which in itself was concocted, made up. And unfortunately, Wire had to retract the stories, and later on the editor of Wire, Siddharth Varajajan, had to tender an apology through an editorial, which is an extremely rare instance in media. Why did this happen? Because Wire had got an email purportedly written by one of the employee of Meta. It thought that the email was original and it went ahead with the stories. Now, this is a technological challenge that had Wire put that entire thing to due diligence, to exercise due diligence, perhaps things wouldn't have reached to this end. But the people who judge with that thought it's a good story and it has an authentic evidence with it, and let's go with that, had to retract their stories and words. So there are new challenges and there are opportunities both that internet has given us. We'll discuss more in the coming part of the section.